From an illegal football to a player using glue, these are NFL players caught cheating.
Time over the middle and a one-handed grab!
And first, a scandal so bad it cost the team $1 million. The 2015 AFC Championship was supposed to be a battle. The Indianapolis Colts, led by Andrew Luck, were looking to dethrone the New England Patriots and punch their ticket to the Super Bowl. The Patriots crushed the Colts 45-7, leaving fans and analysts scratching their heads. Sure, New England was good, legendary even, but something about this game felt off. The Colts' defense struggled to keep up, and even their offensive drive seemed cursed. Then came the whispers. Could the Patriots have had an unfair advantage? The smoking gun? Deflated footballs. Yep. The Patriots were accused of intentionally using underinflated balls to give Tom Brady a better grip in the cold, wet conditions. And let's be honest, there's nothing more frustrating than feeling like you never had a chance because the other team might have tilted the scales. Of course, the Patriots denied everything. They went all out in their defense, launching a dedicated website, because nothing says innocent like a PR blitz, and even bringing in a Nobel Prize-winning chemist to argue that the air loss was natural, not nefarious. But the NFL wasn't buying it. The league fined the Patriots $1 million, stripped them of 2 2016 draft picks, and handed Tom Brady a 4-game suspension. Whether you call it smart strategy or blatant cheating, Deflategate remains one of the most controversial chapters in NFL history, and a scandal that refuses to lose air. And speaking of sneaky moves, the Patriots were at it again. But this time, it wasn't about the football, it was about the cameras. Bill Belichick and the Patriots just couldn't stay out of trouble, could they? Back in 2007, they were caught videotaping the New York Jets' defensive signals. That's right, straight up filming the competition like it was an amateur spy movie. The result? A $500,000 fine for Belichick, and the team losing 2 draft picks. Some say it was just Belichick being thorough. Others call it an NFL soap opera. Either way, the Patriot way got a bit tarnished. If filming signals sounds extreme, wait until you hear about the Saints' bounty system that rewards players for injuring opponents. The 2009 NFC Championship game was one for the ages. A brutal showdown between the New Orleans Saints and the Minnesota Vikings, with a Super Bowl ticket on the line. But while fans marveled at the hard hits and relentless defense, were the Saints playing to win or playing to injure? Enter Jonathan Vilma, the Saints' fiery linebacker and leader on the field. Vilma wasn't just tasked with disrupting offenses. According to NFL investigators, he was allegedly incentivizing his teammates to do the same, with cash. The story goes that Vilma offered a $10,000 bounty to any teammate who could knock Vikings quarterback Brett Favre out of the game. And if you remember that matchup, Favre was hit so many times he might as well have been the tackling dummy at practice. But the damage was done. The term Bountygate became synonymous with crossing the line between players' inherent physicality and outright malice. Whether you see Vilma as a scapegoat or the ringleader, his involvement made one thing clear. In football, playing dirty doesn't come cheap. If Jonathan Vilma's alleged bounty offer set the stage, Anthony Hargrove made sure the curtains stayed up by leaving his signature on the program. Literally. Anthony Hargrove wasn't just your typical defensive lineman. He was a wrecking ball on the Saints line, but during the Bountygate saga, his name came up for more than his bruising tackles. NFL investigators claimed that Hargrove didn't just participate in the alleged bounty program, he wrote it down. Hargrove reportedly submitted a written declaration admitting to the program's existence. Subtlety clearly wasn't his strong suit. The league came down hard, suspending Hargrove for 8 games, one of the longest penalties in the scandal. Hargrove, for his part, denied the allegations, claiming the NFL twisted his words. It's a messy chapter in football history, one where Hargrove's involvement, whether overstated or spot on, reminds us that in football, leaving a trail especially a written one, is never a great play. Let's talk about Antonio Brown and his infamous vaccination card. Antonio Brown has always been a player you just can't look away from, whether it's his jaw-dropping plays on the field or his headline-grabbing antics off of it. By 2021, he was no stranger to controversy, but this time, Brown found himself in the middle of yet another firestorm when whispers began circulating about his approach to the NFL's COVID-19 protocols. It started with a report that raised eyebrows across the league. While teams were meticulously following health guidelines, Brown's name surfaced for all the wrong reasons. Teammates and insiders began hinting at something off, and the NFL took notice, which led to an investigation that left no stone unturned, and the eventual reveal that had fans shaking their heads. Brown, ever the showman, had allegedly handed over a fake COVID-19 vaccination card. That's right, he tried to sidestep league rules with a move so bold it felt almost cartoonish. The NFL wasn't amused, slapping him with a 3-game suspension. As usual, Antonio Brown left us talking, but this time it wasn't about touchdowns or highlight reels. It was about a fake card that made headlines, and yet another chapter in his drama-filled career. And Antonio wasn't the only one playing games with the league's health protocols. Let's check out Aaron Rodgers' not-so-subtle approach. Aaron Rodgers might be a magician with the football, but in 2021, he tried some verbal sleight of hand. Rodgers claimed to be immunized against COVID-19, but the truth? He wasn't vaccinated. The NFL hit him with fines, and the internet hit him with memes. Rodgers' wordplay became a PR disaster, proving that even an MVP can fumble off the field. While Rodgers relied on semantics, the next player took a more hands-on approach. Literally. Jerry Rice is the gold standard for wide receivers. His record's untouchable. His highlight reel? A masterclass in athleticism and precision, and a jaw-dropping 22,895 receiving yards. Rice didn't just play the game, he redefined it. But even the greatest have their secrets. Years after his retirement, Rice casually admitted to something that raised eyebrows across the league. He used Stickum, a band adhesive to enhance his grip on the ball. Yep, while it didn't erase his legacy or diminish his insane talent, it did leave fans asking one question. How many of those jaw-dropping catches were pure skill, and how many were just sticky fingers? If you thought Jerry Rice's sticky gloves were bending the rules, where a player wasn't just looking for a better grip, he was looking for a faster recovery, no matter the cost. Rodney Harrison wasn't just a safety, he was the safety. Known for bone-crunching tackles and a no-nonsense attitude, Harrison's presence on the field made receivers think twice about crossing the middle. He was a 2-time Super Bowl champion, a leader on and off the field, and one of the most feared defenders of his era. But even the toughest players face wear and tear. In 2006, Harrison suffered a brutal shoulder injury that left his future in doubt. For a player who prided himself on being an enforcer, the prospect of sitting out was unbearable. Desperate to get back on the field, Harrison turned to human growth hormone, HGH, a banned substance in the NFL. In 2007, the league caught wind of his use, and Harrison was suspended for 4 games. He claimed it was solely for injury recovery, not performance enhancement. But the NFL didn't care. Rules were rules, and Harrison paid the price. While Rodney Harrison turned to banned substances for a quicker recovery, this next player's struggles almost ended his career. Josh Gordon had all the potential in the world. A gifted wide receiver, Gordon dazzled fans with his speed and playmaking ability. But his career was repeatedly derailed by violations of the NFL's substance abuse policy. Suspended multiple times, Gordon's story is one of missed opportunities and unfulfilled promises. While his talent was undeniable, his off-field struggles kept him from reaching his full potential. proving that sometimes our toughest opponent is ourselves. While Gordon's issues were personal, this next player took things to a whole new level with a scandal that distracted his entire team on the biggest stage. The stage was set. Super Bowl 33, the pinnacle of Eugene Robinson's career. As a veteran safety for the Atlanta Falcons, Robinson was supposed to be locked in, focused on leading his team to victory against the Denver Broncos. Earlier that very day, he had even been awarded the Bart Starr Award. That night, instead of reviewing plays or rallying his teammates, Robinson made a decision that stunned the football world. He was arrested for soliciting an undercover officer just hours before the biggest game of his life. The news sent shockwaves through the Falcons' locker room, leaving fans and teammates in disbelief. The next day, Atlanta was crushed by the Broncos in a 34-19 blowout. Coincidence? Maybe. But let's be honest, Robinson's timing was worse than a last-second fumble in the red zone. His arrest didn't just tarnish his own reputation, it cast a shadow over what should have been the Falcons' shining moment. And speaking of distractions, this next controversy involved a Hall of Famer who wasn't afraid to admit he used a little extra help to stay in the clear. Lawrence Taylor wasn't just one of the most dominant linebackers in NFL history. He was also one of its most controversial figures. Known for his relentless aggression on the field, Taylor faced a different kind of battle often: substance abuse. To avoid testing positive during NFL drug tests, Taylor admitted to using creative methods. His raw talent was undeniable, but his struggles off the field painted a complex picture of a player whose greatest opponent might have been himself. Despite these controversies, Taylor's legacy remains a testament to his unparalleled skill on the field. As Lawrence Taylor danced around drug tests in his era, this next player found himself under a very modern microscope for his alleged edge. James Harrison, a linebacker so intense he could probably bench press a truck, found himself at the center of PED allegations in 2016. The NFL wanted to question him about using banned substances, but Harrison wasn't exactly rolling out the welcome mat. He even dared the league to test him whenever they wanted. Was his insane strength all natural, or did he have some extra help? Either way, quarterbacks everywhere were still terrified. And speaking of extra help, this next player's relationship with PEDs wasn't just rumored, it led to league action. Michael Vick was the kind of player who made defenses look like they were playing in slow motion. His speed was unreal, his agility game-changing. Whether he was slicing through defenders or launching a cannon of a pass, Vick was a one-man highlight reel, a quarterback who rewrote the rules of what the position could be. By the time he took the NFL by storm in the early 2000s, he was already being hailed as one of the most electrifying athletes to ever hit the gridiron. But with greatness often comes scrutiny, and whispers began to follow Vick off the field. Stories surfaced, hinting that his otherworldly abilities might have had some extra assistance. Allegations of performance-enhancing drug use started to circulate, adding a shadow to his meteoric rise. Vick denied the claims, and no concrete evidence ever surfaced, but the rumors lingered, becoming yet another wrinkle in his already complex legacy. Whether fueled by raw talent, unparalleled athleticism, or something else, one thing is certain: Vick was a player who made defenders look like they needed a cheat code to catch up. While Vick faced accusations of boosting his performance on the field, this next player wasn't worried about performance. He allegedly tried to influence the game himself. Dante Stallworth was a receiver who could light up the field with his speed and precision. Drafted in the first round in 2002, he was known for his knack for making big plays and keeping defenses on their toes. But while his career had its share of highlight moments, it's not his catches or touchdowns that people remember most. One morning in March 2009, Stallworth found himself at the center of a tragic and deeply controversial incident. After a night out in Miami, Stallworth was driving home when his car struck and killed a pedestrian, 59-year-old Mario Reyes, who was crossing the road. The shocking twist? Stallworth's blood alcohol level was above the legal limit. Stallworth cooperated fully with authorities, eventually pleading guilty to DUI manslaughter. He was sentenced to 30 years in jail, but served only 24 days, a fact that sparked widespread criticism and debates about privilege and accountability. The legal fallout didn't stop there. Stallworth also faced community service, probation, and a significant settlement with Reyes' family. The NFL handed him a year-long suspension, and while Stallworth returned to the league, his reputation was forever altered. Now, while this incident wasn't cheating in the traditional sense, it remains a sobering reminder of the responsibility that comes with being a professional athlete and how one decision can change everything. While Donté Stallworth's misstep left a lasting shadow off the field, this next incident proves that not all bad decisions have to be life-altering. Some are just $1 jokes that cost 20 grand. Chad Ochocinco Johnson was always a headline waiting to happen. Whether it was his flashy celebrations, outrageous interviews, or larger-than-life personality, Johnson knew how to keep the cameras on him. But in 2009, during a heated game against the Baltimore Ravens, he decided to add a little humorous twist to his usual antics. The game was tense, and a crucial catch was under review. With everything hanging in the balance, Johnson sauntered over to an official, a sly grin on his face, and pulled out a $1 bill. Yep, you heard that right, a single dollar. In what can only be described as the NFL's version of stand-up comedy, Johnson jokingly suggested the bill as a bribe to sway the call in his favor. The official, unimpressed, waved him off, but the league didn't find it nearly as funny. Johnson was slapped with a $20,000 fine for his stunt, a hefty price for a joke that didn't land. Fans might have chuckled at his audacity, but the incident served as a reminder that even in a league full of characters, there's a fine line between entertainment and undermining the game's integrity. But if Ochocinco's $1 bribe wasn't enough to stop the game, Jessie Bates took a more dramatic approach, hitting the turf like he'd been tackled by an invisible linebacker. When it comes to game-changing plays, Jessie Bates III is usually the guy breaking up passes or making clutch tackles. But in December 2022, during a high-stakes matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs, Bates added a new skill to his portfolio: time manipulation. The Chiefs were on a roll, their offense gaining momentum and putting the Bengals' defense on its heels. And then, seemingly out of nowhere, Bates hit the turf, clutching his leg like he'd been tackled by an invisible linebacker. Play stopped, trainers rushed onto the field, and the Bengals got the breather they desperately needed. It seemed perfectly timed, but maybe a little too perfect. The NFL wasn't buying it. After reviewing the play, they slapped Bates with a $50,000 fine, accusing him of faking the injury to slow the game. Was it clever strategy or a theatrical flop? Opinions are split, but one thing's for sure. Bates showed us that sometimes the most creative moves in football don't involve the ball at all. Jessie Bates may have taken a dive on the field, but at least he stayed in bounds. This next scandal involves a coach who couldn't resist stepping into the action. Literally. In the annals of NFL mischief, few incidents are as jaw-droppingly blatant as the stunt pulled by Sal Alosi, the New York Jets strength and conditioning coach. Picture this: December 12, 2010, a chilly game against the Miami Dolphins. As Dolphins cornerback Nolan Carroll sprinted down the sideline during a punt return, Alosi decided to play defense, literally, by sticking out his knee and tripping Carroll. Yes, you heard that right. A coach, not content with coaching, took matters, and Carroll, into his own hands, or knee rather. The fallout? Alosi was suspended indefinitely and fined $25,000 by the Jets, and the NFL slapped the team with a $100,000 fine for unsportsmanlike conduct. It was a move that left fans and players alike wondering, was this a desperate attempt to gain an edge, or just a momentary lapse in judgment? Either way, Alosi's knee-jerk reaction became a cautionary tale of what not to do on the sidelines. If Sal Alosi's sneaky sideline trip felt like a low blow, this next incident takes things to a whole new level, complete with a body slam that would make a wrestler jealous. In the storied rivalry between the Chicago Bears and the Green Bay Packers, few moments stand out like the one delivered by Charles Martin, a defensive lineman with a penchant for, let's say, assertive play. On November 23, 1986, during a heated matchup, Martin took unsportsmanlike conduct to a whole new level. After Bears quarterback Jim McMahon released a pass, Martin grabbed him from behind and body slammed him to the turf, well after the whistle had blown. The result? McMahon suffered a shoulder injury that sidelined him for the remainder of the season. The NFL didn't take kindly to this blatant disregard for player safety. Martin was ejected from the game and subsequently suspended for 2 games, the first multi-game suspension for an on-field incident in modern NFL history. This act not only intensified the Bears-Packers rivalry, but it also set a precedent for how the league would handle egregious on-field behavior moving forward. Martin might have been the king of late hits, but this next player took it a step further, turning his helmet into a weapon against one of the greatest receivers of all time. Rodney Harrison wasn't nicknamed the NFL's dirtiest player for nothing. Known for his bone-crushing hits, Harrison often played like the rulebook was more of a suggestion. Case in point, October 20th, 2002, against the Oakland Raiders. In a moment that still makes fans wince, Harrison launched himself helmet first into Jerry Rice, the greatest wide receiver of all time. It wasn't just a hard hit, it was a helmet-to-helmet missile that violated every safety rule in the book. The league had enough and suspended Harrison for 1 game without pay, reminding him that even legends like Rice deserve a little respect. This wasn't Harrison's first rodeo with fines and suspensions either. Rodney Harrison's helmet-to-helmet hit might have left fans wincing, but this next collision takes it up a notch, leaving one receiver with injuries so severe it turned the entire stadium silent. When you think of football, you think of grit, power, and yes, collisions. But in 2008, Eric Smith of the New York Jets gave us a hit so brutal it stopped the game in its tracks. Facing the Arizona Cardinals on September 28, wide receiver Anquan Boldin soared into the end zone to make a catch. Eric Smith flew in like a human wrecking ball, helmet first, which resulted in a devastating helmet-to-helmet collision that sent both players crashing to the turf. Boldin suffered a facial fracture so severe it required surgery, and Smith found himself on the receiving end of a 1-game suspension and a $50,000 fine. The NFL called it a violation of player safety rules. Fans called it terrifying. Smith's hit was a reminder that while football is a contact sport, there's a fine line between a clean play and a reckless one. Let's just say this was more car crash than tackle. If you thought Smith's helmet-to-helmet hit was brutal, this next incident doesn't just cross the line, it stomps all over it. Albert Haynesworth wasn't exactly known for his subtlety on the field, but in 2006, he traded tackles for theatrics, and not the good kind. It's October 1st. The Tennessee Titans are battling the Dallas Cowboys, and Cowboys center Andre Gurode is down on the ground, his helmet off. Hugh Haynesworth, who must have thought, what's better than beating your opponent? Oh, stomping on their face. Twice. That's right. Haynesworth brought his cleats down on Gurode's exposed head, leaving a gash that needed 30 stitches. The NFL didn't hesitate, slapping Haynesworth with a 5-game suspension, the longest in league history for an on-field incident at the time. And honestly, it felt deserved. Fans were horrified, teammates were stunned, and Giro probably wondered if he was playing football or trying to survive a rodeo. Haynesworth's stomp didn't just cost him 5 paychecks. It earned him a permanent spot in the NFL's What Were You Thinking? Hall of Fame. Haynesworth's infamous stomp left the NFL reeling, but it wasn't the last time a player let frustration boil over into outright violence. Thanksgiving 2011, a day for turkey, gratitude, and Ndamukong Suh's infamous stomp heard round the NFL. During a heated game between the Detroit Lions and the Green Bay Packers, Suh decided to add his own flavor to the holiday festivities. After a play had ended, he was seen shoving Packers guard Evan Dietrich Smith's head into the turf multiple times before delivering a blatant stomp to his arm. The referees didn't need a replay to make the call. Suh was promptly ejected, and the league handed him a 2-game suspension without pay. Suh initially claimed he was just trying to regain his balance, but the footage told a different story. This incident cemented his reputation as one of the league's most controversial players, reminding everyone that sometimes the line between aggressive play and unsportsmanlike conduct isn't just crossed, it's stomped on. Ndamukong Suh's stomp was an act of pure aggression on the field. But this next scandal takes us off the turf into a world of wagers, where 2 players learned the hard way that even off-field moves can have serious consequences. When it comes to NFL rules, the league is crystal clear about one thing: keep your bets out of team facilities. Apparently, Jameson Williams and Stanley Berryhill didn't get that memo. Or maybe they thought they could place a quick wager without anyone noticing. In 2023, both Detroit Lions receivers found themselves slapped with 6-game suspensions for betting on college football games from inside the team facility. Yes, not even NFL games, but the league didn't care. Rules are rules, and these 2 broke them in the most avoidable way possible. Williams, a first-round pick, brimming with potential, and Berryhill, a roster hopeful, both issued apologies, blaming a lack of understanding of the NFL's gambling policy. But let's be honest, placing bets from the office is like texting during a staff meeting. You know you shouldn't, but you do it anyway, thinking no one will notice. Well, the league noticed, and their wallets and playing time paid the price. It's a lesson in priorities. Save the bets for after practice, and preferably not in the building where your bosses are watching. These might have been the wildest behaviors of NFL players, but it's nothing compared to buying a wristwatch for $500,000 or a custom car worth $2 million. Just click on the next video to find out more.